It's about 10 o'clock. Took a leisurely morning, and I feel all the better for it. That early bird gets the worm thing. Whatever, screw that. Today, my plan is to go out to the bridge and do some field recordings. I brought a bit more furniture with me this time around so that I can be a bit more comfortable. Last time I just had the chair. Now I've got a chair and a music stand. No shade right here, but I did bring a hat. Cheese, bread in my bag, LaCroix, plus more in my bag, plus water, some trail mix. I'm good for a while. Oh yeah, my brother came up with an alternate title for the second movement, which is a little on the nose, but I'm still liking more and more. Be kind. Here's the setup. No frogs during the day, and now a bunch of flies are probably gonna try to lay some eggs on my windscreen. My poor equipment and what it has to put up with for my art. The annoying thing, which isn't really a big deal because I just have to be alert to it, is that there isn't really a good spot to park on the other side that's really close to the field recorder. And I don't want to be in the middle of the road because, well, there's traffic that goes through there. So I just have to be alert. And when I start to hear something that is clearly freight train tracks, I rush over. It takes a few seconds for the recorder to power on. So I have to be pretty quick on the draw in order to get it to capture the very beginning of the sound. The video that I used for the first movement, Fast-Paced World, I grabbed from online, public domain thing of some person walking through roads of Virginia. I think for the forest stuff, particularly for something that wouldn't be subject to copyright, it might be better to create my own. The other thing is that now that I'm done with this second movement, whatever it's going to be called now, and it's probably only going to take me a day at most to do the revisions for Felicity, that still gives me an additional 7 to 8 days here to do the video stuff. And since I'm still in this dedicated space where I can spend 12 hours just with the creation, then I think I might take the time to dive a little bit into Max and try to create my own sort of audio reactive video. I've already this morning took the time to watch one 24-minute tutorial where somebody replicated this particle reactive thing using Max. Ooh, there might be a freight train coming. It can be a little challenging to distinguish between distant cars versus freight trains when they first happen. I think that was a false alarm, but there is a frog. And now there are more frogs. The most bizarre thing happened. I heard a sound that was not road noise. Heard it on the freight train tracks. It sounded really quiet and started to come really fast. And I was like, crap, I need to go hit record. It wasn't a freight train. It was a truck that had some modified wheels to allow it to run on the freight train tracks. I was not aware that such things were made. It makes sense if they need to be able to travel on the tracks to do maintenance or something, but it was bizarre and wild, and I wish I had gotten some video of it. I'll say that so far there have been no trains that have gone by. Not sure why. Maybe if the truck was an indicator of it going to do maintenance on something, possibly there are some trains that have been canceled for today. I think something's coming right now, actually. Oh yeah, that's definitely a freight train. Well, didn't make the beginning of that. Maybe next time, if I'm not talking about how there have been no freight trains, I'll be able to actually hear the freight train. It's about 1 o'clock. It's been a bust for freight trains. There was only the one that I only caught the end of because it surprised me. I did get some good other sounds though, some frog sounds and some nature sounds. Back out again. It's about 3:30 maybe. I've also put this more directly in front of the tracks. Not exactly the middle of the bridge, but closer to the middle. Before I had it set up maybe one notch over. So I just found this guy who went to a volcano in Ethiopia and did a bunch of field recordings of it, doing some crazy techniques. And he has it available for purchase on his website. Oof, $150. There's some recommendations for others that are cheaper. We'll see. I'm still undecided whether volcanoes really belongs as the fourth movement. It's almost 5 o'clock. A long freight train just went through, and I was able to get a good recording of it. And I had the field recorder already on, so I just needed to quickly dash up to it and hit the record button. Caught most of the initial sound. Had to wait for a couple of cars to go by too. They had two cars happened to be passing the road right as I started to hear the sound. And at first I thought it was just the car sound, but then as the car sounds faded, the sound still continued from the freight train. And dinner tonight was salad, a glazed ham, another lima bean concoction, and there was something else. Oh, asparagus with some cheese. Hear that? That's lovely. That's not coming from the same place as where I record the freight train tracks. Maybe that means it's on its way here. I'm probably going to miss it because I'm not going to be able to get to my studio and set up the thing in time. I can already hear it coming over here, so I'm going to miss it. I heard one over dinner too, as we were all sitting outside socializing. Here it comes. It's a long one too. Oh well. I also wanted to say that during dinner, I had a lovely conversation with a person that I shared the Sweetbriar College salon with, Leslie. She wanted to let me know that I inspired her with some of the work that she's been doing here, specifically with the sound thing that I talked about, like way back when. One of the last prompts that I gave for the sound experiment was to let people express something that was joyful in their life or something that's been going really well. And she said that when presented with that question, she couldn't think of anything. And she thought that was sad. So part of her residency has been not just working on the thing that she was planning on working on, but also working on a different painting that was inspired by trying to find a way to remember joyful things more consistently and how to manifest that into a painting. And it's been really something. And she wanted to make sure that she took the time to let me know that I helped inspire her to try to find that joy in her work. And that was really, really nice. My evening is a little bit wonky because I have a Rhythm X board meeting at 9 p.m. And then I'm going to go out and try to do field recording as soon as that's done at 10 p.m. So I've got this time period of an hour and a half where I'm not sure exactly what I want to focus on. Those two windows in the corner are now dark because Anthony left today. And I got very used to seeing those lights on at the same time as me, because he worked late into the night just like I did. It's great to know you, Anthony. I'll definitely be looking into your work in the future. It's about 10:15. I'm out here at the freight train tracks again. I got out of my board meeting with Rhythm X, and I heard a freight train go through in the middle of the meeting at around 9:30, which was really annoying. But I decided I wanted to come out here anyway and see if there was going to be a later one. As I set up my recorder, a freight train came through. It was a short one, only about a minute worth, like maybe 10 cars, but it still came through, and I was able to get a recording of that. It is a gorgeous, hazy moon kind of night out, and it's pretty peaceful. One of those freight train track lights is green, I heard a freight train whistle. Let's check the battery level here. Now we're good. I think the big winner for freight trains today was that afternoon 4:31. The short ones could have some value too, so I'm not going to knock it. We'll see what tomorrow brings, but I feel really good. It's 9:15, Friday morning. I'm heading out to Food Lion to grab some more LaCroix because since I was outside all day yesterday, in addition to the water, I drank through a lot of LaCroix. I'm also going to get some wine, some vegetable party trays, maybe some other snacks, because I and the other composer who's here, the third composer ended up being a no-show. We're going to showcase some of our work tonight after dinner, so I thought it'd be nice if I brought some snacks and beverages. There's a part of me that feels like in the last week while I'm here, I should take more advantage of the local culture. I've heard about this Indian restaurant that's supposed to be one of the best Indian restaurants in the state of Virginia that's only about 25 minutes away from here. There's also some stuff over at Sweetbriar that other fellows have talked about going over there to just walk around, observe, or to go to their cafe, things like that. I don't know, for some reason, maybe as I get into more residencies, I'll feel more free to go off script. But as this one is my first one, and because it's the VCCA in particular, a lot of the interest I have is really just focusing on my work and focusing on the people, on the community that's here. There's a crew of fellows, about 4 or 5, Catherine, Quincy, Leslie, Gina, that consistently, when I've come back from my late night session studios at 11 p.m., have been in a common area and they would just talk because they're not ready to go to bed. And once I've come back from the studio, then I join them and I am a part of the last part of their whole conversation. And this has happened every day now for at least the past 5 or 6 days, and it's become almost this routine. It's been pretty wonderful and an important part of the experience. Getting to know the people here in general has been an important part of the experience.
Is that a record? Awesome. Go back to sleep. Oh, it's the stray cats. Yeah, back to sleep.
It's a little after 3:30. This day has not been as productive as I had intended. My brain today is feeling fairly out of focus and feeling the need to be at rest. And I am okay with that because I've been going pretty full tilt throughout this entire residency. It's currently lunchtime the next day, but I was looking at the footage that I made last night to try to summarize yesterday, and I was really out of it. So I thought I would do better justice to what happened yesterday when my brain is a bit more fresh and energized. The open studios that I went to before lunch were pretty fantastic. There were 4 people that had opened up their studios. Karen, the photographer, who had opened up her studio before, but reopened it as she had done a bunch of new work. Nick, who is a painter, who just arrived fairly recently. I want to say that he's been here for maybe a week or maybe a little longer or shorter. I don't quite know. The days have a tendency to blur together here. The amount of detail that he put into fine lines and textures was really remarkable to me. The other 2 open studios came from Gina and Blinn. Gina and Blinn's work both were my favorite that I've seen from the open studios. Gina has a lot of vibrancy to her work and has a mixture between realism and surrealism, if that's even the right way to term it, that I was consistently drawn to. And I ended up having a talk with her later in the evening about her whole process, and there was a lot of kinship in the way that I resonated with her work and the way that she resonated with mine. And it was even more true with Blynn's work. One of the other fellows, Quincy, who is a writer and also a painter, and I were both bonding a little bit over being in Blynn's studio and thinking, if you took a look at Blynn, you would have no idea what kind of art she would be making. And when we went in and saw her studio, we were blown away. Her stuff is very minimalist in a way that's similar to how my soundscapes are minimalist, and really tries to maximize what sort of depth that you can get out of the least amount of material. It just has to do with geometric shapes, and she's really interested in creating more depth the closer you go to the work, because when you look far away, you just see these geometric shapes, but as you get closer, there are these line incisions that create their own sort of shapes and create a different kind of focus. And then you realize that the physical material sometimes has different layers of depth as well. And looking at her work, not just what she has been doing with the residency, but also looking through her portfolio book, there's so much a kinship in her approach to expectation. Particularly with one of her works, there's this ability for there to be symmetry in it. And she deliberately left one part of the symmetry out, which brought more focus to the negative space that was excluded from that symmetry, and also brought forth the idea of finding more beauty and originality from that lack of symmetry and the lack of regularity. And that is so the thesis for so much of the way that I treat my own music, is to find beauty in the things that are irregular and slightly chaotic. And it was amazing. Again, all the stuff that I've seen has been pretty standout, and there's a lot of really talented people here, but that stuff is the one that relates to me the most personally. I would take any of her works and throw them on the walls of my house. So I've been thinking that if I continue to work in any kind of digital video creation kind of realm, to take some of the stuff that she's done, either in direct collaboration with her or inspired by her, to really inform how to generate the same sort of depth out of so little in my own visual art as I try to do in my musical art.
I fall back to sleep. The inside of my nose stings. I fall back to sleep. The midnight train goes by. I fall back to sleep. Someone outside starts their car.